who is the type of person that meditates? Like, who is the person looking for this?
Yeah, well, it really comes down to what can benefit, what benefits can meditation offer somebody. And, unfortunately, and this is the unfortunate part, is until you start meditating, it's almost like you don't realize how much it could really enhance your life in every aspect of it. And there's a lot of scientific research, obviously, out there nowadays that's been done with like Buddhist monks that shows that, there's Buddhist monks whose brain at 70 years old, even 80 years old, they have the brain of a 20-year-old in terms of just functional cognitive abilities, in terms of white matter density, gray matter density. But really the benefits and who this is for, who meditation is for, is absolutely everybody, because who couldn't benefit from a more equalized state of emotion or mentality, or hormone regulation, or feeling more rested or relaxed, or having a more clear mind, or having the ability to focus a little bit better and making clearer decisions. Like who in their right mind would just say, no, I'm good, I don't want that? Like, nobody would say that. If you could give it to them on a silver platter, every single reasonable human being would take that in a heartbeat, no matter what their background is and no matter what they do, whether they're a family man, whether they're single, whether it's a professor, whether it's a student, whether it's a poor person or a millionaire. Everybody can benefit and would want to have that kind of hack, so to speak. And so really meditation is for absolutely everybody. I think what it comes down to is what style of meditation suits that particular individual and their needs based on their level of understanding and comfort and how much time they can devote to the practice. But the benefits are indispensable really to everybody. And I think even age-wise, it doesn't matter. You can start them as young as 6, 7 years old. And somebody in their 60s, 70s, or 80s can really benefit from meditation, because, again, there's no downside. If done properly, there's absolutely no downside to meditation. It's just all upside. The downside, if any, is that you got to put in the work to do it. That might be the only downside, if we have to say any. But in terms of benefits, both physiologically, emotionally, and mentally, it's just nothing but benefits on the horizon. So it's for everybody.
Mahesh, what type of people have you found come to your Himalayan retreat to do breath work?
Yeah, basically, so we all look for improve the quality of our life. Okay, so definitely the meditation, like the way Joe was putting it, actually, so meditation, breath work enhances the quality of our life in a big way. The quality of your health, the quality of your senses, and the quality of your focus. Because whatever you want to do, whether you are a scientist, you are a doctor, you're a student, you're a professional, we all need that focus. So you can't think anything a better technique than a breathwork or a meditation to give you the best focus. So that's how working on these techniques can make you achieve bigger things in life. And at the same time, you develop your intuition. So you start attracting, you get that sense of knowing, what is right for you, which kind of environment suits you, what's the right way of doing it, wrong way of doing it. You start, the whole things around you start changing. So it's like a whole dynamic, the thing happens actually when you get into meditation and when you get into these, yogic principles actually. That's why I think the millions of people have been attracted to it, and then that's why these principles have been there from eternity. Like nobody knows actually when all this meditation, all these things started actually. Like, because we all have this innate, the craving to, searching for the best. Right. So when you want to search for the best, like it is said actually in the Upanishad, everything which is there on the universe, it's continuing in a vibration, and at the same time it will keep evolving. So definitely these yogic techniques like meditation, if you precisely ask me, or a breathwork, is one of the best way to increase our vibration and also help us to evolve to become a better than what we are this moment. Every moment you start becoming better. So in that way, like the kind of people who come to my Himalayan retreat are the same, who are looking for for the betterment of themselves. Okay, who wants to have a better way of cleansing themselves and meditating better. And then the interesting thing is, I've seen people the first time they come just because it's a Himalaya. But after experiencing the, all the process happens, the releasing happens for them, they come for the second time. Even I have people, even sometimes, they come back after almost every year. It's going on for 4 years like that. And I've seen them enormously grow each year by practicing these techniques. It helps anybody. Like even I've done for small children too. Like, they can have such, develop such creativity, that spontaneity and intuition, the children, and they can do very well in the studies and very well in their day-to-day activities. It's wonderful. Like it helps anyone. So I say, like, if you're really interested, just try it out. Like, just see once and try maybe a breathwork session. There are a lot of people around the world, who can give you the breathwork session, or I can tell you what it is. Just try a couple of breathworks, or just try meditation for about a week, and see what happens for you. And I always, I feel, the practice is the only way to find out what works for you. In my opinion, it's one of the best things to do.
You keep saying breath work and breathing. Don't we? I'm breathing, so what am I doing wrong?
Yeah, it's a good question actually. Why do I need to do a breath work? Because I'm breathing every day, all the time. Why do I need to do a breath work? But remember, there's a big difference in the normal breathing, the way we breathe actually, and then and the way the breathing happens in the breath work. There's a huge difference. Because we have so much of the constraint in the breathing actually. So after the first breath, after the birth happens in the baby, the first experience of the baby, that coming out of the womb, and then the kind of the birth experience, all that, what happens, the breath, even the first breath, for example, if it happens suddenly, all that can lead into, some kind of, distortion in the breath, the first breath. Again, it's a science. You can read a lot about it actually on the net, or even a lot of books are written about it actually. Okay, and again, and when you start continue to grow with that, the disturbed breath after the birth, it's only become more and more disturbed actually. And only when you work with a professional, only the person who understands, how to release the breath and how to make it, again back to the full breathing, the original breathing. How much we have been missing it actually. For example, when I met my guru, who taught me the breath work, when he told me that your breathing is not right, I said, oh come on, I've been breathing good and I do a lot of exercise, and what do you mean by my breathing is not correct? He said, no, there's something, you will understand. Then he offered me to do a breath work. When I experienced the first breath work, I know the difference before the breath work and after the breath work, how much I changed in my breath. So that's, it makes a huge difference actually. So, and again, we talk about these 5 breath forces, each one is distorted actually, what we call the 5 prana system. So in that way, correcting each one of them, and then you get the complete power of your breathing. And then you can see the body or mind can function the best way possible. Okay, so in that way, just a normal breathing, it's not breath work. The breath work is something very specialized thing. As if telling, oh, I'm walking every day, why do I need to go to a gym? So, but if you want to have a good physique, you want to see those muscles, how they can come up and, really make you a better person. So that's how it works actually in the breath work. It makes a huge difference when you do it, when you work with a professional. And again, you don't need it. The breathwork is not something where you keep doing it throughout your life. Maybe try 10, 20 sessions, and it, oh, it's got corrected. And once it got corrected actually, then you can continue with your spiritual practice. Whatever you're doing, you're chanting or a meditation, you can continue with that practice, and it helps you big time in that. And what do you think, Joe? What's your opinion?
Absolutely. I think it is kind of the question oftentimes, especially for people who are new to breath work or this whole idea of pranayama or breathing, intentful breathing. I've heard it myself a couple of times. People would facetiously comment, I breathe every day of my life, and so I don't need to do these types of practices. And it's cute and all, but there is something fundamentally different from obviously day-to-day breathing and breath work. And I would say one of it is the intention of being consciously aware of what's going on with your breath in relation to your body. And this is something that may or may not be prevalent or people are really aware of, but you can induce a plethora of emotional feelings and states of consciousness in your body just with breath, just with the rate of frequency of breath, the depth of it, the amplitude of it, how deep you're breathing, just by shifting these parameters in your breathing oscillations, you can literally induce everything from panic, which people do. When somebody's having a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you can tell they breathe very quickly and shallow. It's interesting that you can actually reverse this and induce these types of negative states of consciousness by breathing alone. But the flip side of it is that when you breathe deep and long, for example, then you can actually induce states of bliss, and this is where it gets more into the parameters of cohesion, conscious, what do we call it, something like where the states of just the mental states start becoming very much in the state of equilibrium. So they're accompanied with like bliss and feelings of just feeling amazing, feeling great. The level of understanding and aptitude just really become very apparent, and all of this is induced by breath alone. So when people do ask these types of questions like, oh, I breathe every day, I don't think I need help, I would say you're wrong. You're definitely wrong, because the things that you can experience, and this is outside, this is strictly just speaking of the physiological benefits, you really can experience a tremendous amount of wonderful states of consciousness in conjunction with, of course, healing yourself and cleansing your nadis just by doing certain types of breathing patterns. So it's something similar to walking slowly and then hiking up a hill and then running a marathon, and then running a short distance sprint with, say, 200 pounds on your back. Granted, all these things are just as simply involving the legs and moving forward, but both the journey and the end result are substantially different with different intentions. So you can actually have a similar analogy with breathwork like that. But breathing normally the way we breathe generally is improper breathing anyways. It's extraordinary, as Mahesh was saying. It is very, very distorted. It's not in harmony at all. Either we breathe in too much or breathe out too much or breathe out too little. Whatever it would be, generally our breath is extraordinarily shallow. None of us use our own diaphragm, which is the proper way of breathing when we should be breathing. So there's a whole science to it, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, and also like one more thing quickly, every activity which goes on in the mind, it has got an associated breathing rhythm with it actually. Like, let's say I'm concentrating, my breathing rhythm is different.
Right.
I'm happy, my breathing is different. Let's say the person is depressed, his breathing is different.
Correct.
So every emotions which you carry on in the mind, or every activity you carry, it got a connected breathing thing actually. So doing breath work, you understand these rhythms actually, pattern. So next time, let's say for some reason I'm just getting into a kind of a little depressed mode, I can just by changing the breath, I can change my the mood. Let's say I need to concentrate on something, but I'm not able to do it. Just by changing my breathing rhythm, I can get the best of the concentration possible. Even the memory, for example, most of our memory works with the breath actually. Like if you just align the breath properly, you can remember anything you want. It's all about just being aligned with the breath. So much can be done. So they say in Upanishad, there is a saying actually. They say, Vayu Jivottama Hari Sarvottama. The meaning is, Vayu means is breath. Jivottama, the best can happen to the body. Best can happen to the being, when you actually work with the breath. Okay, so the best can happen. At the same time, best of the best is when you connect to the, it's a microcosm, like the macrocosm connection like that, actually. So breath can do wonders if you know how to work with it. So in that way, the breath work is wonderful.